One thing from a functional sense of Modern Warfare 2 that I'm sure that we're all looking forward to is gunplay, using the weapons of the modern era again. Whether or not you're excited for more in-depth systems like Gunsmith or anything like that, fundamentally speaking, the gunplay, I'm sure there's a bunch of weapons that we want to try out. But one thing that I see that has been reported by news outlets or on Reddit, anywhere there's really discussion of Modern Warfare 2, seems to be one giant misconception about what our weapons list will look like or what it appears to be looking like. So today I wanted to run down a discussion with you on weaponry and what our armory is shaping up to look like. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below. If you get to add one weapon, base or variant, what would it be? If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2 as we gear up for Call of Duty Next and the multiplayer reveal, as well as the beta to follow and the launch just under 2 months away now at this point. And finally, if you'd like to join us as we grow our Twitch community and come hang out and chat while we get gameplay footage for future videos, I'd love to hear how your day's going or anything you want to discuss. We're live most days or nights at the link in the description below, so come hang out if you'd like to. But for now, let's take a look at this misconception that we may be seeing with the Modern Warfare 2 weapons list ahead of this reveal and, of course, the launch of Modern Warfare 2. So, weaponry is obviously an integral part to a first-person shooter. We did our first breakdown of every single weapon that we saw in the trailers and gameplay back in June, and that seemed to be rather insightful for a lot of people. 150,000 plus people stopped by that video, and recently we did an updated one where there was one key difference that you may have noticed between those two videos. Obviously, there were more weapons that we talked about at a base, but in that first video, we mentioned 37 weapons, while in the second, we discussed the 26 updated weapons. So what happened? Surely we didn't lose weapons from the reveal to a week and a half ago when we learned about more of these with the actual gameplay for Modern Warfare 2, and that's correct. We didn't lose anything, but we corrected some of the verbiage of the topic to be more accurate. While we discussed 37 weapons at the reveal period of Modern Warfare 2, that was the sort of culmination of every single weapon that we had seen across the trailers, gameplay showcased in said trailers, and behind the scenes and gameplay from additional campaign missions and discussions that we had with Infinity Ward in a briefing ahead of the reveal of Modern Warfare 2. That second video, though, that updated video described the 26 base weapons that we knew of. This is where I think some of those expectations of the upcoming armory are unfortunately being inflated due to perhaps lack of insight or context. While we've seen a ton of variations in the weaponry like the Scar L, MK16, Glock variations, AR-10, SR-25, MW-24, XM-2010, AK-105, DDM-4V7, the SIG MCX Virtus, the Fight Late MCR, the AR-57, and of course, a ton of others that we discussed at length with the reveal back in June. While it's not 100% confirmed, and yes, there is the potential that maybe more of these are air-quote base weapons. From everything that we've heard, though, behind the scenes, from everything that we've seen, how the gunsmith and the weapon selection will work and all things like that, though, I don't know that I'd expect a lot of these to be sort of base weapons that you'd be able to see if you were comparably scrolling through Modern Warfare 2019's weapon selection or Warzone's weapon selection. In fact, this isn't the first time that we've seen something like this, but it's just more widely publicized ahead of the time with Modern Warfare 2 here. But in Modern Warfare 2019, we had the ability to create these ultra-specific weapons and builds with the gunsmith. In fact, that was one of the fundamental design elements and pillars here as to why they wanted to create the gunsmith and the design decisions by Infinity Ward. Custom-built options to further that realistic nature of combat and to give unique gameplay experiences to anyone who wanted to use them as such. You absolutely could have your weapons that you could just pick up and play if you're a firearms amateur or novice. Myself, I'd probably classify me in that little range. Or if you're somebody that's an absolute expert with firearms, you could make these ultra-specific weapons in detail. You could make them how they would appear in real life. I nearly did an entire series of these conversions actually on YouTube at the time with Modern Warfare 2019, and honestly, if there's room to do them, I may do them again here come the beta and or launch of the game. So let me know your preference on if you'd like to see that with other hidden conversions perhaps within Modern Warfare 2, but there are so many different builds you can make in Modern Warfare 2019. For example, on the M4, you can make the Colt 9mm SMG with a commando barrel, 9mm rounds, and the Forged Tac TQS attachments. You can make the Beowulf AR-1550 out of the Corvus Custom 458 SOCOM rounds and the Singard Arms Invader attachments. You could also make the M16 out of the Burst Weapon perk, M16 Grenadier Barrel, and the M16 stock, also equipping it with the Underbarrel Grenade Launcher if you'd like to go a little bit step further. But there was also this pre-equipped blueprint that you could get from Season 1 or Season 0 for reaching max level, which gave you that carry handle and iron sights that actually made it more so like the M16. But then other weapons you could make different variations as well. The M13 could create the MCX SBR, the AK-47 could make the RPK, RPD, AK-74U, AK-12, among other things. The AUG could make the Stryer AUG, the MP5 could be equipped to make the MP510, the MP5SD, the MP5K, the SCAR could make the FN SCAR PDW, and so many different other weapons, especially as DLC weapons came out. So Okay, Jordan, we get it. So what does this have to do in terms of the weaponry we can expect to see this year in the systems at hand? Why is this any different? Well, for one, at the basis of all of this, I'd curb my expectations a bit if you're expecting things of your arsenal to be selectable in the quantities of the 60s, 70s, and 80 plus number of weapons, with each individual variant, for lack of a better term, being listed as individual base weapons. At the simplest forms, I'd say that. Expect a similar base weaponry system as Modern Warfare 2019, an M4, AK-47, a SCAR, but all with the abilities to create these own custom weapons and variants beyond that. However, where I'd expect a deviation, and why I think this is kind of something that seems to be a little bit more misunderstood, miscommunicated, however you want to describe it, is that it seems like we'll have more accurate systems in place, though, for creating these weapons overall. With Modern Warfare 2019, you could make these weapons, but you'd still end up seeing, in, say, the pickup icons, it would say, pick up the M4 or pick up this specific blueprint, but it would be the blueprint name, not necessarily that weapon that may have been a deviation from the base weapon. One of the big ones that I've seen quoted recently is the M16, and I think this is a prime example here for this, because pending no drastic changes to what we saw previously a couple of months back with the current gunsmith or weapon direction, the M16 was specifically stated to be a variant included with the M4 base weapon. Exactly how we saw it in Modern Warfare 2019, but unlike Modern Warfare 2019, we have those in-game screenshots of it showing up as the pickup icon saying pick up the M16, something that we hadn't seen with other pre-built variants in Modern Warfare 2018. So the way that this looks to play out to me, and why we may be thinking we may have more weapons overall, is that it seems like there may be recognized variants buildable through the gunsmith and unlocked through our weapon progression that, if slotted properly, just like a puzzle piece, the game will be able to recognize that and actually display the name of the weapon overall. And again, maybe not through just slotting different attachments in certain spots on weapons, but one major component that we've seen already is that weapon progression system, like we just mentioned. We've already detailed this here in the past, where while we don't have any details really on how to progress it or level up and unlock certain variants, we did see specifically, as you'll see on screen right now, the progression tree that was detailed by Infinity Ward back in June ahead of the reveal here as a part of our pre-briefing. For that, we saw that you could unlock different variants for the M4, one of course being specifically named the M16. You had the 458 SOCOM, you had the LMG Fight Light, and then you had a couple others included in that. So by association, the M16 showing up as the M16 in game, that 458 SOCOM variant likely will show up in game as such. The Fight Light M4 LMG variant will likely show up in game, and so on and so forth. And this is where I can kind of imagine that we go a bit further. You'll have that progression tree for other weapons. Your AK, where maybe you have the base of the 47, but then you can unlock the variants of the RPK, RPD, 74U, AK-12, 105, however deep it wants to go. Also, then you can do things like your MP5 at base. You end up having the ability to unlock further the MP510, MP5SD, MP5K, and so on and so forth. So while we see all of these different variations in game, not only one is it just something we've seen already from the gunsmith already described in Modern Warfare 2019 and moving now into Modern Warfare 2, but it seems like we'll also end up having more accurate representations of these as pre-built variants for the base weapons. So moral of the story here, and why this is a misconception, is that it seems like people are expecting overall a much higher number of weapons, but instead it's kind of going to be similar, I would imagine, to Modern Warfare 2019, but also with more clearly defined sub-weapons and variants you can create. So don't go into the game thinking that we're going to have 30 ARs, 20 SMGs, or anything like that, but instead your same base number of 8 to 10 to 11 rifles or something like that, but then the ability to create and or save and unlock specific variants underneath that can offer a lot more variety in the gameplay loop. So been seeing a lot of questions and a lot of talk about this recently, and while it's something that may be self-explanatory to some, it definitely seemed to be something that I wanted to clear up the air for those that may be wondering how this may work a little further. So that said, that's what we're going to call it. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Are you guys liking the sound of this gunsmith, this weapon unlock and progression system within Modern Warfare 2? And have you seen any of these blueprints, any of these variants that you were kind of hoping to see maybe as base weapons? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing running all things Modern Warfare 2. We got a lot coming up on deck. Make sure you stick it here for all of it. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. So thanks so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.